Greetings, my friends. Drak here, and welcome back to yet another vlog. And today is going to be a unique one because I brought this idea up earlier in the year about being able to do TV vlogs because there are a lot of series this year that I would like to be able to talk about. And from what I can tell, the reception I've gotten has been mostly positive. Some people aren't really into the idea, but there are some that are. And I figured that the best way to be able to do this is, again, I can't and don't watch TV regularly. I have too busy a schedule given all the things I do for the channel, as well as the things that I do for Drak and Shadow, for Geek News, amongst being a dad, amongst helping out my wife. You know, it just doesn't work for me to be able to say I need to be watching the TV at 7 p.m., you know? So in a lot of cases, most of my TV is done via streaming, especially Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all of those places. And in particular, I've really liked what Netflix has been doing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I've made my opinions fairly clear on them, but we'll do a little bit of a backtrack before this one. So this is going to be a new segment on the channel where I cover a series that I might be watching in like 1 or 2 episode intervals. I know that I said yesterday on Final Fantasy VI that I was going to be doing 2 episodes today. I actually miscounted the number of episodes that it had, and so I have actually decided we're going to do episode 1, and then we're going to do 2 episode intervals from there on in so that we can just even it out. And so here is my vlog for Luke Cage, episode 1, and I'm just going to warn people in advance, spoilers ahead. I might spoil things while I'm talking about it, so probably best for you to see this first, if you haven't already, before you go any further. So here you are, you've been warned. And before we get into it, I'm actually just going to go really quick into my background on the Netflix series. So I have watched Daredevil Season 1 and 2, as well as Jessica Jones. As people will know, I'm a very big Marvel Cinematic Universe nut. I'm liking a lot of what they're doing. Iron Man was great. I think the only film I haven't seen to this point, it's only because I've seen pieces of it, is The Incredible Hulk. And given that a lot of people have actually aimed me towards not seeing it, like it's not relevant, I'm still going to see it at some point. I just haven't yet. But I'm a very big fan with what they've been doing with Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Captain America, Thor, the first Avengers, the second Avengers, Thor the Dark World, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War. All of that has been working out so well. And one of the other things that has helped with that is the TV cinematic universe that they're using to bolster that lore. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been a really great way to be able to lead into these events and actually have an aftermath of, for example, Agent Coulson going in to clean up the mess after Thor the Dark World. Or, most recently, having to have S.H.I.E.L.D. Adhere to the Sokovian Accords, kind of thing. So I've liked how they've been doing that, but the Netflix universe has been adding a little bit extra to it, and that's in the fact that I think that there is no accident that they picked the characters that they wanted to highlight. They started with Daredevil, and then later on announced that they were going to be doing Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones, and eventually the Defenders. There's a reason that you did that, because these are relatively darker superheroes with darker subtext along with them. I mean, for crying out loud, Luke Cage and Iron Fist aren't even legit heroes. They're heroes for hire for the most part, at least in everybody's current kind of imagination of it. And, well, as much as I don't want to give any praise to Frank Miller, but Frank Miller's run with Daredevil, as well as how dark the series is, has really worked to his advantage. And that's especially true with the Netflix series of Daredevil and Season 2. And here's the thing. I'm not the biggest fan of the Punisher. I don't read the comic. I'm not into the Frank Castle character. But man, when he was brought into Daredevil Season 2, that was really awesome. That was a great way to be able to do it. So that being said, I've loved everything that they've done with the Netflix series. Daredevil Season 1 worked really, really well. I love the casting so far, especially the interactions between, I'm not thinking of the actor's name, but Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, Vincent D'Onofrio. I think they've done really, really well, especially in Season 2 when they got to expand on that. And Jessica Jones, while really hard to sit through, just unsettling in every sense, it worked. And David Tennant did a really good job playing Kilgrave, as well as the Jessica Jones. I've loved everything that Netflix has been able to do with these universes, especially they adhere to the darker tone. I'm not usually pro darker tone, but for these heroes, it makes sense. So with that, I'm going to stop delaying. This is probably the spoiler point. We're going to go into episode 1 of Luke Cage. Now, if you've watched Jessica Jones, you know that Luke Cage showed up there, kind of to hint at a series with him and give his backstory. This one just kind of goes into an aftermath. At least that's kind of the feeling that I have on the matter. He's not with Jessica anymore. He's off in Harlem now, which is interesting because Daredevil and I think Jessica Jones was also based in Hell's Kitchen because we had a lot of familiar characters showing up in both series. So it made sense. This one's based in Harlem, and so we cut to Luke where he's just trying to live a peaceful life like he was in Jessica Jones and trying to stay under the radar, easily relatable. But obviously doesn't want to make any noise for himself. He's working janitor jobs. He's working dishwasher jobs. He is staying so low under the radar that nobody notices he's there for the most part. But at the same time, you also get to see these good elements of character development with him and the other people that he interacts with. Specifically, he works as a janitor for Pop's hair salon. I'm not sure if that's his actual dad, but we're going to run with it because actually, you know what? Everybody called him Pop, so I don't think that's the case. But it's kind of one of those community barbershops where people will try to bring even the kids in to be able to do something with their free time. And Luke comes in to just do a minor job for them, but he has such a great interaction with Pops, trying to figure out, okay, I've got these superpowers. Why don't you use them to be a superhero? Why don't you go join Tony Stark? And Luke very seriously puts out his reasons on why he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't think of this as a blessing. He thinks of it as a curse, especially since I believe that's part of the origin too, where he's been experimented on, and that's what's brought about his impenetrable skin. So that being said, we establish Luke very well. He's trying to get by. He's behind on his rent. He's everything under the sun to try and stay under the radar. And then we also establish his villain, at least I'm thinking this is going to be the villain of the series, Cottonmouth, aka Mr. Stokes. I'm not remembering the actresses' names, but all really well done performances as basically trying to essablish another mafia crime syndicate, but at the same time also having them acknowledge that Wilson Fisk was the badass on the block. And now that he's gone, what hope do you have to be able to take his place or to be able to do the business you're doing? And I like the fact that they tied it over to Daredevil and said, yeah, this big thing happened. This epic crime boss has gone down. So what makes you think you're safe? Kind of thing. And so we get this guy established early on. He owns a club, so obviously he's considered a community element. He's got his hands in the pockets of politicians, as well as trying to work out deals with Puerto Rican thugs and mafia connections, things like that, to continue to make him out to be basically a Harlem Godfather, so to speak, to make him Cottonmouth. I'll admit, I don't remember the name Cottonmouth, but there is another name that sounded very familiar, which was Diamondback, which is apparently a competing mafia syndicate that now is actually coming in to help out Cottonmouth to fix the problems that happened in this episode, which was basically one of his local bartenders found out about his little deal with the Puerto Ricans and wanted in on the money. So he brought in his neighborhood friends, who Luke just so happened to know, and they took the money. And so it's already kind of a dark way to start the series off. But one of the ways that absolutely works is everybody is telling Luke, get involved. Get involved, go join Stark, go do something good for the neighborhood. And Luke's answer to all of it is, I just want to live a quiet life. I've lost my wife. I want this little piece, and that's all I want. Please leave me alone, kind of thing. Let me just do my thing. And I love the fact that where some push a little bit harder, they all eventually just go, he has to get there on his own. And which actually helps into later in the episode where things start getting bad. Like I said, the bartender for Cottonmouth he actually gets shot in the job, and then his two buddies eventually one of them gets caught by Cottonmouth, and literally, his face gets beaten in, and now you have stakes established of like, what about this third kid? Is he going to survive? Is Luke going to be able to get up off his butt to help him in time? And so we then get to have that little internal conversation for Luke. But actually, I should probably establish that too. Again, this Diamondback guy is coming in to help out Cottonmouth. It just so happens that the representative for him has a history with Luke in the fact they were both at the same facility. And with that, we then have another internal conflict. He's been spotted. He could get captured again. He's wondering whether or not he should just leave town before that happens. Kind of like Jessica Jones earlier on in the series when she starts hearing little whisperings that Kilgrave is still alive and she could still be controlled by him, kind of thing. So we have that underlying fear, but in this case, where Jessica kind of stayed in that for most of the series until she found out that she couldn't be controlled, Luke just has that internal conflict. He doesn't want to be a hero. He just wants to have his own little piece. And then we get to have a nice kind of internal monologue with him and his wife Reva, where he then just kind of goes into the bathroom, looks her picture in the eye, and says, "I'm clear, I'm focused, and that's probably the best way for me to be able to do this." And then we start seeing kind of the quiet defender that is Luke Cage, where the Chinese restaurant that he has his apartment at gets hustled by I'm going to call it the Marvel Cinematic Universe equivalent of Black Panthers or something like that, and how they're hustling for money. And he comes in and goes, "You're not going to do any of that." And the first thing that they do is say, "Okay, well, we're going to beat the crap out of you." And this is how you know it's a Netflix series, because they do like to do the cringeworthy moments to establish these superpowers. In the fact that they had their, I guess this guy was known for his left hook, and you literally get to see through CG him break his hand and arm on Luke Cage's jaw to establish that, yes, Luke Cage has impenetrable skin, in case you didn't see that in Jessica Jones. He also has, I think, to some degree, super strength, and those are pretty much his powers, which is a great moment. It really just establishes him as, because not only do you have that CG moment of his arm breaking on Luke's jaw, but then immediately, where do you go? The reaction from everybody else. Holy crap, that just happened. And Luke takes over from there and takes care of the rest. I also liked especially that where this woman, like, again, he was behind on his rent, so this woman should be getting on his case. Now she's, like, willing to pay him, but he doesn't take it. He's like, "No, I'll just be here. I promise you that. I'll be here. I'm not taking any money from you. I still owe you rent. But I'll still be here because it's the right thing to do." So already I can tell you, I love what they're doing with Luke Cage. Just from the first episode, this was a great pilot. At least I'm treating it as a pilot. It establishes the characters, including the police and the detectives that you're going to be dealing with. It also establishes the villain very well, but also leaves a level of mystique for this Diamondback guy, almost saying, like, maybe Cottonmouth isn't the ultimate bad guy of this season, or maybe they're setting up Diamondback for season 2, kind of thing. I like the fact that they added in that mystique. Luke, the character, or the actor who plays Luke, amazing job. He did well in Jessica Jones as well. I really like the pick that they have for Luke Cage. And like I said, most of the actors in this, amazing job as far as I'm concerned. They've done really, really well with their casting in the past, and this is no exception. So I recommend this wholeheartedly. However, I am going to say this. If you aren't into the gore or anything like that, then I have no problem saying skip the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, skip the Netflix stuff, because that's what it is. Daredevil kind of set that up with the level of blood that it had, and then Jessica Jones took it up another notch. Right now, just after one episode, I would say Luke Cage is somewhere in the middle, but it could easily go up from there. But if you have no problems with the blood and the guts and all that, go ahead and watch this. I recommend it wholeheartedly. If you do, you don't need to see this. All right. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you guys so much for hearing me ramble on Luke Cage. I'll be back soon with even more episodes to kind of wrap up the season. And then who knows, maybe I'll actually go into some of the seasons that just barely hit Netflix and give my thoughts on things like Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow and the latest seasons of Flash and Arrow, since I haven't seen them yet. I know it's a little late, but hey, you can get my reactions on it. Until then, though, I am Drak. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.